Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Southeast Business and Innovation Centre, the support network for social entrepreneurs, also known as the Sunset Project, to our webinar this morning, Creating an Impact with Your Digital Marketing. My name is Michelle O'Rourke, and I would like to introduce my colleague, Carol Thurston, business consultant and our moderator this morning.
Hi.
Before we begin, I just have a few housekeeping points. Please ask your questions via the Q&A link at the end. Also, this webinar is being recorded so that it can be accessed online at a later stage. Following this webinar, if you would like to discuss your business or concept in private, please feel free to contact us directly and we can arrange an online meeting. Our contact information will be available at the end of the webinar. We have a great lineup of great guest speakers for you today. Sandra Hennessy, digital marketing trainer and consultant and founder of Be Dynamic, and Emma Corbett, marketing consultant and founder of Kickstart Original. But before we hand over to our guest speakers, I would like to give you an overview of the Sunset Project. The project commenced in June 2018 and is due to be completed by June 22. There are 9 EU partners involved with this project, and Sunset Ireland is based in Southeast Waterford, and our other partners are based in Northern Ireland, UK, Scotland and Wales, France, Luxembourg, and the Netherlands. The Sunset Project is funded by the European Regional Development Fund. The aim of the project is to support social enterprises across the southern half of Ireland. The Sunset Project offers a tailored support service, which includes one-to-one mentoring and advice, business development supports, workshops, and webinars that help build and grow sustainable enterprises. There are lots of definitions for a social entrepreneur, but we think this is a very good description. In this slide, we work across all the sectors as seen here, but this list is not exhaustive. If your enterprise has a social impact goal, we can help you. We offer a range of free of charge services through online consultations. Also, we use a number of tools, including the Social Enterprise Business Model Canvas, and very recently, we launched the Sunset Social Enterprise Evening Academy. The Academy comprises of a series of information events followed by workshops through which we will create an ongoing online network for social entrepreneurs. Given our remit around geographically and socially isolated regions, this delivery approach is practical and accessible for many emerging and existing entrepreneurs. And for information on the Academy, please visit sunset.org. The Hub Space is an office in our incubation centre in Waterford. Unfortunately, it's currently unavailable until further notice, but if you are interested in using the office, please let us know and we'll keep you informed of when we are ready to reopen. I would like to take this opportunity to extend a big thank you to our project working group, Angela Campion, Liz Ritchies, Patrick Casey and Nolan and Nicola Tull, who have been a great source of advice. So far, we've had the pleasure of working with Muckalee Community, Renew Enterprise, Waterford Integrated Services, Orna Murray, and many more. We're actively looking to work with social enterprises. So if you or anyone in your network is starting or has an existing social enterprise and would like to avail of this free service, please feel free to get in touch with us and we can have a chat about how we can help. And now, Carol, I'll hand over to you.
Thanks, Michelle, and thanks for the introduction to the Sunset Project. I'd now like to introduce our first speaker, Emma Corbett. Emma is a marketing consultant, strategist, and founder of Kickstart Original. Emma shares her love of communication, fascination with technology, and curiosity about people to help small and medium businesses with their marketing impact goals. Over to you, Emma.
Thanks, Carol. And thanks, Michelle, for the introduction. Okay, so hi to everybody that's watching. As we mentioned, my name is Emma, and I'm here to talk about designing, building, and optimizing your website in 5 steps. So just before we get into it, just a little bit about myself and who I am. So as I said, my name is Emma. I'm a marketing consultant. I'm the founder of Kickstart Original. I started Kickstart Original with the purpose of, I suppose, just helping small businesses and entrepreneurs with their marketing, both online and offline marketing. I've worked across various industries. You can see those there on the screen. And well, some of them there on the screen. And I suppose just the key thing to note about me for the rest of the presentation, and it's something that I'm hoping to bring across in the rest of the presentation, is that I'm a marketer first. And what I mean by that is, for me, I see websites with the customer in mind, with the end consumer or the end user. And with that, I suppose what I'm hoping to do throughout this presentation is just cut out all the technical stuff, or the vast majority of the technical stuff, and just kind of leave that at the door. And hopefully everybody will be able to follow along at the same level, you know, and be able to actually understand everything that I'm saying. So with that, we'll get into it. So the 5 steps that I identified to design, build, and optimize your website are here. So the first one there is just to choose a CMS and a domain. So with that, just CMS, that's an abbreviation for content management system. So for, I suppose there's 2 types of people on this call that I see. And those are, the first one are the people that have never actually had a website. They don't have one now, and they've never worked with websites, or perhaps not that much. So they're starting their website from scratch with this, and that's what they're hoping to do from this call. And the other one is somebody that already has a website, and you're basically just looking to optimize it, you know, fix it, test it, whatever else from this. So with this first step, if you already have your website live and up and running, then it isn't really so much applicable to you because you've already done this at some point. So with that in mind, I'd say, look, this is just kind of a recap of something that you've already done. It's still good to recap it, so stay tuned. But I'll just head on into it there now in terms of explaining what it is for anybody that doesn't know. So a CMS, or a content management system, well, again, it's a non-technical definition that I'm using here, but essentially what it is, it's a place where you log into your website and that you can edit all your content from there, you know, move it around. So with that in mind, I've just actually come up with 3 tips to help you choose your CMS if you don't have one. So the first one that I have there is to avoid developer reliance. And what I really mean is to avoid developer over-reliance, because I suppose what you want from your CMS is to be able to log in and do day-to-day things. So to make little changes yourself and to not have to call in a consultant just for little things, you know, such as moving an image or something like that. So that's something that you should try to get from your CMS. The second one is to consider scalability. So how will your website scale with your business, and will it actually be able to scale? So for example, you might decide that for now a static website, which means that you don't take payment transactions through the website, that might be perfect for your business now, but in 5 or in 10 years time, that might actually not be the case. Like, you might at some point want to, you know, sell services or products through your website. And if that's the case with your CMS, what you need to question is, will the CMS that you're choosing be able to actually scale with you as that need arises, and what will actually be involved with it? So then the third thing is support and popularity. So they kind of go hand in hand with a CMS. Because support, basically the CMS, there's hundreds of CMSs or content management systems out there, but choosing the ones that are the most popular in general is a good move, because they're more likely to be supported 5, 10, 20 years down the line, whatever it is, the more users that they have on them. The other side of it is that if you choose a popular CMS, then when you run into a minor issue, and you search online for a solution, there'll be a lot of customer support forums on there that, you know, you may find the answers to your problems there. So they may be able to help you as well. So in general, just pick, you know, ones that are really well supported and popular. That's the first part of part 1. And then, yeah, choosing a domain name. So again, just a couple of tips here on this, and I'm using the example of Kickstart Original, my own company. The reason being, I didn't intend on using it, but it actually makes a lot of the points that I have there on the left. it brings them up. For example, keeping it on brand is something that you should do. So what I mean by on brand is if your company name is Kickstart Original, then your domain should be not necessarily the exact same, but it should be something very, very close to it, if not the exact same. Choosing .com or .ie, they're just the most popular endings to a domain name, and avoiding hyphens. And this is what I mean by where I chose to actually use the example on the right-hand side of Kickstart Original. The reason being, you can see the company name has a dash in it, so it's Kick-Start Original. And in the domain name, I chose to keep that out of it. So it's just Kickstart Original, all one. And the reason for that is because if I put in the hyphen in there, a lot of people would actually get lost. Some people would forget to put in the hyphen when they're searching, and they actually wouldn't be able to find my website. So that just doesn't work. In general, just rule of thumb, avoid them. And the final point that I have, or the final tip that I have, is just to kind of keep it short. So 15 characters or less, again, it's a rule of thumb. As you can see, I didn't actually stick to that rule of thumb myself because mine is 17 characters long, but that's just the name of my company. So, there's no real way to shorten it in that sense. So yeah, again, they're just kind of general guidelines. So then on to stage 2. So stage 2 is just defining the actual structure of your website. And just at this point, I guess what I'd like to say is that stages 1 and 2, so there's 5 stages. Stages 1 and 2 are kind of things that a lot of people can do themselves, in-house, that you don't necessarily need to outsource. A lot of it is information gathering, including, choosing the CMS and all the rest. So, these are things that really, they're kind of action points for yourself in terms of how you want your website to look and to be structured. So within defining the structure of your website, so I just have a few kind of different areas here. So your pages, your titles, and your descriptions of those pages. Yeah, this is a big thing, I suppose. Which pages do you want on your website? Which ones are necessary? And what are the actual titles of those and the descriptions? So each page should have a relevant title and a description. I don't want to get into SEO too much, like this isn't a presentation about SEO, but obviously you would keep that in mind when you're coming up with those titles and the descriptions. But the most important thing as well is that it's actually relevant as well to the page and the content that's on the page, and that the actual pages that you have as well are relevant. Navigation then is, I want to say, probably the most important thing in my opinion in terms of your website. So what is navigation? It's basically how easily people find information on your site. So a rule of thumb again is 3 clicks or less that they should find the information that they're looking for on your website from when they click on to the home page. So if you were to design your website with that in mind, that's generally a good way to go. I suppose the 3 clicks or less where it comes in is if somebody takes too many clicks on your website and they still can't find the information that they're looking for after X number of clicks, then what they'll actually more than likely do is they'll leave your website because they can't find the information they're looking for, and instead they'll go somewhere else. And when they're going somewhere else, they're going to a competitor's website more than likely. And if that competitor is doing what they should be doing, which is the 3 clicks or less, then they'll find the information there and your competitor suddenly wins that customer. So it's just a good rule of thumb to think of when you're thinking about the navigation. And with that, you should have a sitemap, which is basically, for want of a better way of putting it, it's a hierarchy of how all your pages interact on the website and how it's going to be structured. The next point then I have is just I've grouped them all together. So colors, typography, and images. So these are all things that are going to be decided by your brand. It's basically, these should be consistent across your website, your social media, your print documents. If you're at an event, everything that you have there, it should be across the board. Your colors, typography, and images should be pretty much the same. So the same style, the same standard. Then the last one is your copy. So what I have here is try to aim for 300 words minimum per page of your copy. Obviously, you'd ideally have more, but it depends on the page that's in it. Minimum 300 words is the rule of thumb again. And I just have, for anyone that's not, I suppose, used to writing copy, I just have 3 tips here. So the first one is to simplify it. And what I mean by simplify it is don't try to overcomplicate the words that you're using. Don't try to make it sound fancy. Just use the basic words. they work best for people to comprehend it. Shorten the sentences that you have. So just if there are filler words in there, is what I call them, just take out the filler words. You don't need them. You know, if they don't help with the comprehension of the sentence, then they're not necessary. So keep it short. And then the third one is elegant. So to make it elegant. Now the first two are easy to simplify and shorten, but the third one can be a little bit more tricky and just takes a little bit of practice. And what I mean by elegant is that it should read nicely. It should flow between the paragraphs and actually be nice to read and to comprehend for somebody. So if you can achieve those three things, you're well on your way to writing good copy. With the final thing then is just to add in keywords. So again, I don't want to make it an SEO thing, but in general, once you identify a keyword, try to add it. Again, it depends on the length of the overall page and the amount of copy that's on it, but try to add that keyword in 3 to 4 times throughout the page. And again, it should fit into that being elegant, you know, nice to read, all the rest. So I think that's the end of stage 2 then there, which brings us on to stage 3. And again, just I suppose stage 2, as I said, that's kind of something that, you know, everybody could kind of do themselves. Up to that point, it's really information gathering on what you want from your website and how you want it to be structured. And stage 3, I suppose, is moving into a bit of a different direction then from the information gathering, and it's more about, it gets visual at this point. So really at this point, whether or not to outsource, it depends on your internal skill set. So whether it's just yourself or whether you have a team with you, if you don't have a skill set that's around, I suppose, graphics and website design, then this is the point where you may choose to outsource. So what I mean by designing the pages, basically what you're looking to get in this step is you're looking to build a wireframe or a series of wireframes. And what is a wireframe? So a wireframe is, they're basically blueprints of your website and what you want it to look like. So it's like a skeleton version of your page or of each page. Now, the one that I have there on the left that you can see on your screen, the image, that's actually a finished design. It's not a wireframe. Now, it would have once been a wireframe in previous versions. But that's the finished design. So it just shows you kind of the idea of what you're looking to get to by the end of stage 3. And I suppose the important thing to keep in mind when you're actually designing the pages, or if you're having someone design the pages, is the importance of designing for multiple devices. And what I mean by that, like if I sit here and I say to everybody that's listening that you know, mobile is the most popular way that we browse now, and mobile devices, that's not, yeah, hopefully that's not going to be a shock to anybody. Like that's been the case for a long time now. But I suppose what is important to note is the impact of that on how we design landing pages and how we design websites. So really, you need to kind of question, okay, should we be designing for mobile or should we be designing for desktop? Well, mobile is the most popular, so perhaps we should be designing for mobile first, desktop second, and tablets, and then so on and so forth, whatever other devices you want. But the point is, if you're ignoring mobile at this point, then, or, you know, if you're even putting it as secondary, then you may be missing a trick there. So yeah, the importance of designing for multiple devices. So what you see here on the left, the image, it's a design for desktop. So you can see it's nice and wide. If you were designing for mobile, it'd be much more narrow and long, and the same for tablet. So yeah, basically what you're looking to do though, essentially in the design stage, is you're looking to take everything that you put together in stage 2, and you're putting it onto a page. So where your logo is going to go, your text, what colors are you going to use, where your buttons are going to go, all that kind of stuff. And you're basically just putting it all together in this stage. Okay, so stage 4 is an interesting one because it's build it, as you can see on the screen. And the reason it's interesting for me is because it really depends on your CMS and your skill set, you know, within your organization, whether it's yourself or someone else in your team. I'm kind of limited. That's why it's interesting to me, because I'm kind of limited in terms of what I can say to actually help you build it, depending on those factors. But I'll just get into it now here. So I've kind of taken the point that it's really about, your big question here is DIY versus outsourcing. So if you don't already have a website, then what you might consider doing, or, you know, if you want to take the time, is to go and look at a CMS that you've chosen, and they might actually do a free trial. Some of them do. They might do a week or 2 weeks free trial, and that would allow you to play around with the system and just see you know, what you think of it, see if building it might be something that you could do yourself or that you feel comfortable with doing. Potentially. And then the other option is, if you're one of the people that already has a website, really what you're looking to ask yourself at this stage is, how confident do you feel with your CMS? So if you are comfortable making those day-to-day changes and, you know, moving around, maybe it's building a landing page or just redesigning, you know, the layout of your existing pages, then just, yeah, how comfortable and how confident do you feel with your CMS? It may be the case that, look, if it's just not working for you, then you may need to outsource. But there are also, as I said, look, options there, you know, that you could actually do it yourself to a certain extent. The last stage then that I have is testing and optimizing. So I suppose a lot of people, when they build their website, they like to let the website, you know, go live, and we kind of like to think, that's it, it's done, we're finished, you know, and we just leave it and we sit there now, or it just sits there now for the next 2 or 3 years. It's grand. But that kind of defeats the purpose of why you wanted a website in the first place, because why you wanted a website in the first place is probably to get found by customers and to sell products and services, or whatever it is, whatever your unique goal was. And so what we need to realize is that actually websites, once they go live or once we've cleaned it up, it's really it's an ongoing process. It doesn't just stop as soon as you're live. So you need to test and optimize. So with testing and optimizing, I suppose really what marketers, what we do is we experiment, we test, and we use data to make decisions about whether or not that was good or bad, that test, and how it performed. So with that, what we're doing really is we're using something that's called A/B testing. So it's otherwise known as split testing. And with regard to websites, we're doing that usually on landing pages. So what I mean by split testing or A/B testing is basically you're taking 2 or 3 or 4 versions of a landing page, however many, and they're pretty much almost identical, except for you might make one change on each landing page, and that change might be you know, moving an image around, or using a different image, or you know, putting a button on a different part of the page. And what you're going to ultimately do is basically make data-driven decisions. So you're going to install Google Analytics on your website, which is free to install, and you would watch how each of those pages performs. And which, as I said, whichever one performs the best, you use the data to make a decision on, you know, that's how basically the design should be done. So it's constantly about running these little experiments and seeing which performs better and collecting the data on those. But I suppose aside from that, what I've listed here on the screen is the optimizing part of you know, the ongoing process of your website, which is SEO. And really what it is it's an investment in SEO. And I suppose what I have written here is 2 bullet points that basically are 2 tools of what you should be aiming to do. So one is to make your pages faster. That's obviously great for SEO. So there's a free tool there, Google's Page Speed Insights. And if you just put in your URL into that of your page, it'll give you up a list of problems with that page, or not problems, but areas of improvement, should we say. So that gives you a good area to go to, and keyword research. So Google Keyword Planner is another free tool. But I suppose the point that I'm trying to get across there with the optimization is that ultimately you are going into kind of an organic search optimization process there, and that is really a long-term investment. It's longer than just you know, just your website project takes 2 months and then you're done, or you know, or 2 months for building the actual website or cleaning it up, and then 2 months for SEO. No, it really is. It's a long-term, ongoing thing. So that's a key point to get across there. That's me just about done in terms of the 5 points. You'll be glad to know. I suppose just that I had 2 kind of key takeaways that I want you to take from that. And the first one is just, I suppose, knowing what you can do and what you can't do is really important during this process. So as I said, steps 1 and 2, you know, pretty much that's information gathering. A lot of people should be able to do that. Step 3, you might start to think, okay, with the design, you know, where it's actually getting more visual, it depends. Just weigh up your skill set, weigh up what you can and can't do. and you know, I suppose when is to outsource as well, you know, what you should outsource and what the benefits of outsourcing it are as well, that you'll actually benefit from the expertise of the person that you're outsourcing to. And then the second one is just that it's an ongoing process. As I just said, it doesn't just stop once your website is cleaned up that one time, or once it's looking pretty that one time. It's all about ongoing testing, optimization. So that's pretty much me done. So thank you all for listening. I hope everybody followed that okay, and I made a lot of sense and all the rest. And I think we're doing questions at the very end. So what I'll do for now is I'll pass it back over to Carol. And I think everybody will be getting a copy of this presentation anyway. So I'll just let Carol come on there now.
Thanks, Emma. That was a really informative session on designing, building, or outsourcing and getting the most for your website. More than ever before, it's important to have an informative and engaging website, which can be a powerful tool for any startup or established business. Thanks again, Emma. Our next speaker is Sandra Hennessy, digital marketing trainer and consultant and founder of Be Dynamic. Sandra delivers a variety of digital marketing training programs on topics including best practice web development, online advertising, email, and social media marketing. Sandra works with a large portfolio of clients, including Leo's, Irish Times Training, and the Irish Internet Association, and many private clients consisting of SMEs and micro businesses and startups. Sandra works with a diverse range of sectors, and she understands the hurdles that businesses face in this digital age. Over to you, Sandra.
Great, thank you. I really must shorten that. Good morning. Are we still morning time? Just 1 minute, so we're still in the morning time. So I'm going to talk to you about social media, because there's a famous quote from a guy called Eric Qualman. He's very big in the social media world. And his quote is that we don't have a choice if we use social media. The only choice is how well we use it. And it's actually very, very true. I'm not going to bore you with any more details about myself. I think Carol kind of covered it over there, but I did set up my own business in 2010. Thankfully, I'm still here rocking and rolling, working with clients up and down the country, obviously doing it all through Zoom at the moment. But I've been working in digital marketing since 2002, so I'm a bit of an old hat at it now at this stage. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about the customer's online journey, because one of the things that when I'm working with clients, I find is that they don't really understand the journey a customer goes through to make that purchase. So the different stages and the content that you can create for your different stages. So before we kind of go into that, these would kind of be the big 3 social media platforms. We've got Facebook, we've got Instagram, we've got Twitter. Obviously we have others outside of that, but these would kind of be the big 3, with Facebook and Instagram being obviously the 2 more popular ones. Facebook has about 2.74 billion users. Instagram has over 1 billion users. Instagram, unfortunately, or Twitter only has 330 million. So that's why it's kind of down the bottom. So Facebook is great for building relationships, and it's best for kind of brand loyalty and conversions, but there are challenges, and one of the biggest challenges is getting your content in front of your network and growing your network. Instagram, again, building relationships. It's great for that inspiration, aspiration. The visuals should absolutely knock their socks off. And the challenge is that it's harder to drive people to your website. So for instance, you cannot put clickable links in the caption of a wall post. Twitter's kind of found its niche as being a source of news, great for conversation, great for connecting to influencers, whether that be inside your industry or outside, but also for media, PR, that kind of thing. But the problem is obviously low levels of users, and the limited character count is a bit of a struggle for some people. So I will focus my efforts on Facebook and Instagram because they tend to be the focus for most businesses. So I don't want to get too technical. When we're in the marketing world, we tend to throw jargon at you. So I'm going to try and break it down as we kind of work through. But this is a new flywheel model. And it's actually quite a good one to have in your toolkit, because people go through a process. So the first thing is that your customers start off as strangers. Before they ever come near you to buy a product, they start off as a stranger. So what you have to do is figure out is, how do I get that stranger to want to buy what I've got to offer? And the first thing you need to ask yourself is, are you selling a need or a want? So do people need what you've got, or do they want what you've got? So if they need it, you have to obviously show the extra value in why they should be buying it from you. What are the benefits of buying it from you? If it's a want, you have to get them to really love it, to want it, to spend that discretionary spend. So, you know, is it books for your daughter or son in school? That's a need. Or is it a want? You know, for me, that would probably be a pair of shoes and handbags. Unfortunately, I don't get to buy them as often now as I used to. So the first thing is attracting them to you. So creating content that pulls people towards you, then getting them to engage. And what you need to do is understand is how many touch points does it take to get somebody from being a stranger to being a customer. And when we say touch points, all we're talking about is how many engagements with your business, with your brand. So, and again, it's going to depend on what you're selling. If you're selling, you know, jumbo jets, you know, Boeing 747s, you're going to need a lot more touch points than if you're selling kind of those impulse buy items. And people buy from businesses they know, they like, and they trust. So this attract and engage stage is very much to build that trust and get them to like you as a business and even as a person. And there's a guy called Mark Schaefer, and he is very big in the kind of content world. And he reckons that businesses that humanize will survive longer. And what that means is that you're bringing that human element through what you do, because people buy from people. And social media is phenomenal for that. So it's getting people to connect with you on a level where they think they can't go anywhere else to buy this product or service. Then obviously when they become customers, you delight them. So delighting them means that they become your advocates. So they promote you to their friends, their family, their peer groups. That then brings more people into the funnel. So just really important that you understand that one touch point will never make a customer. You have to continue to engage with them. And even if they decide, oh yeah, I want what they've got, I'm going to go in, I'm going to put it into the shopping cart, or I'm going to reach out to them, that still doesn't mean they're going to make that purchase, because a large percentage of people on a website will actually abandon their cart. So that means somebody will go into the website, they'll pop something into their shopping cart, but they won't actually put in the payment details. They'll back out before they get to that stage. So getting them to buy that product is really difficult. Social media will definitely help with that. So when they're at the attract stage, they're at that cold audience stage. If you ever think of the TV shows, and especially the American ones, you know, when they pick up the phone and they lie and they say, oh, it was the window sales guy, you know, and if the window sales guy rings, they're like, yeah, no, I'm fine, I have windows, thanks very much. And that's what it's kind of like. It's trying to sell to somebody who already has the windows or who has no need for what you've got. You have to engage them. You have to woo them a little bit. You have to wow them a little bit, warm them up a little bit. Then you can start trying to sell to them. So it's important just to try and create content. If you're using social media, I don't know if you're familiar with the Facebook ads platform, but that is absolutely amazing for pulling people through from that cold to the hot stage. So I'll talk about that in a little while. This is kind of the type of thing that ideally you would be planning. So this is based on a campaign that I worked on with a client. So it was a hotel, and obviously with COVID, they decided to do takeaways. So the first thing we said is, right, we need to create awareness for this, because we're not known for takeaways. So we have to create awareness. So the first thing we did was we decided to run a competition. Competitions in social media are a fantastic way of developing awareness. And to obviously reach our objective, we gave away the prize. We did a little bit of advertising, and it was based on a very local audience, so €10 ad. And the action was to comment to enter. That then moved them into a new audience. So on Facebook, you can create a custom audience, and that custom audience allows you to target people who have previously engaged with your page. So now they've moved somewhat from cold. They know who you are. They have some sense of what you do. Now let's move them into the next audience, which is now let's get them to engage with us at a deeper level. So what we did here is we ran an ad campaign, which allowed, where the call to action was to view the menu. Now it wasn't to purchase, it was just to get them to the website to view the menu. That was the main action. Because what we wanted to do there was when they go to the website, then we could retarget them. So that means that the fact that they landed on the menu page, we can then run an ad back out to them. Third ad then was about getting them to make their order. So see the way we're taking them from not knowing that we had takeaway to booking a takeaway or buying a takeaway or ordering a takeaway. And we're nurturing them through that process. So we're not hitting them straight away with, we're running takeaways, here's where you can book it. We're nurturing them through the process. We're letting them get excited about it. We're letting them see the menu. Then, of course, we can convert them. So it's very important to look at that. Something else that you should also think about is the personality of your brand. Identify the personality traits of your business. And what's really, really important, what I find a lot, is people don't run those personality traits through their whole marketing. They're really quirky and fun and friendly on social media, and then their website is as dull as ditch water. And we don't want that. We want to make sure that if you determine a personality for the brand, that is run through all of your channels. So if you're going to be funky and quirky on your social, make sure you're pulling that into your website as well, because you don't want them to have a total disconnect when it comes from, they're coming in from Facebook and they go, oh my God, I wasn't expecting this. We don't want that. We want them to have the same or similar types of experiences. So can you pick 3 personality traits for your business? And we're not talking about features of what you do. We're talking about how you would describe a person. And it could be, if you're working for yourself, can very much be your personality traits. Now I'm going to share a different screen with you here now. I'm going to show you a video. And I absolutely adore this video. This is by the Woodstock Hotel. I don't know if you've seen it. I absolutely adored it. This is actually one of the ones they did recently at for St. Patrick's Day. So I'm just going to change the sound source. So just give me a second, and I'm just going to change the source so you can hear it. And I'm going to play it.
That you have chosen the Liscannor suite for your wedding. I'm so thrilled.
Is this or is this not the most spectacular performance you've ever seen?
I'm going to hang up now, so don't panic. Everything is under control. What are you doing?
I'm dressed as Michael Flatley because I'm doing it for the St. Patrick's Day video.
You knew I had a wedding show around, and you're pouncing around the ballroom. You haven't a beat in your foot.
I'm a great dancer. I won medals when I was in school for dancing.
I've had enough. I've had enough. I'm walking out.
Elaine! Elaine, come back. We can talk about this. Elaine, don't go. Fine. I don't need anybody to have a good time. I can dance by myself.
So hopefully you're having a little chuckle to yourselves there. Great personality injected in there. I absolutely love that. And they did another great one for Valentine's Day, which was a take on first dates, well worth checking out. But if you see what we're doing there is the personality of their brand is really shining through. It helps you to connect at that level, and I absolutely adore it. The other thing obviously you need to think about is who you're actually targeting. So really thinking about, you know, what is it your customers want from you? What are their aspirations? Who are influencing them? What are the factors in their purchasing decisions? What are their social media habits? So for instance, are they heavy Instagram users? Do they use the Instagram stories feature a lot? Are they more video watchers than link clickers? So knowing that will help you to create content that really appeals to them. So us in the marketing world, we love our 5-step approaches to everything. So I have 5 steps for you. So when you're developing your social media strategy, and hopefully these steps will help you with kind of being a bit more structured with your approach. What most people tend to do is they tend to, you know what, I live in a real world. They kind of go hell for leather at it with no kind of plan. It's just a case of you have to use social media content out there. But really the ideal will be is to sit back and really think about what you're trying to achieve and how you're going to achieve that. So the first thing is do you review your social media metrics and analyze your successes and failures? And it's okay to have failures, folks. Most people don't recognize that you've had a failure. You see that you've had a failure. So for instance, I've ran competitions with clients and had 2 or 3 entrants to the competition. But the thing is people aren't looking at that and going, oh my God, they've only had 2 or 3 entrants. They're going, happy days. I only have a few people and a good chance here of winning. So you're the one that's stressing out about the failures. Your customers probably haven't noticed, but what's working and what's not working. So I'm going to show you a couple of tools, and again, free tools, which everybody loves a free tool. Second thing then is setting your objectives. So what are you trying to achieve? So is it that you're a very new business and you're trying to develop brand awareness? And remember, these are your strangers. Is it that you're an established business and you're trying to convert people? Or is it that you're trying to achieve all of these things and you need to have a content plan that helps you to achieve it? And the key is that every single business, no matter how you are, creating content that is developing awareness with new cohorts of people, because you need to be bringing in new people into your to build your network, because otherwise you'll just keep saturating the same pool of people. So what are you trying to achieve? And then what are you going to measure? So for instance, do you know what your engagement rate is on your Facebook account? Do you know what your follower growth rate is? And most people kind of laugh at me and they go, but I work for myself. Why do I need to do this? But to be honest, if you don't do this, you'll never know if you're growing. So an example, I was working with a client the other day and we were looking at their growth rate and they thought, gee, Mac, I can't understand what's happening. Why isn't my page growing? And when we looked at the Facebook insights, they are getting new followers, but what's happening is it's stagnating because they're losing followers at the same rate. So their growth rate is really, really, really slow. But the type of business that they are, it's very event driven. So what happens is they have people connecting with the page because of the event that they're interested in. That event finishes, so people will unfollow because they're not interested in the next event. And that's okay. But it's understanding that. But then you might have a retail client where they're selling online where your followers need to be on an upward trajectory. So what are you going to measure? So here is some ideas of what KPIs you might be measuring. So KPI stands for key performance indicator. And again, it's just one of those marketing terms, but really what it means is that if your objective is awareness, if your objective is, to create awareness within a certain cohort of your audience, how are you going to measure that that's actually what's happening? So simple things like, what is your Facebook follower growth rate? What is your Instagram follower growth rate? And these would be somewhere along the averages that I would see with a lot of clients. Your Facebook engagement rate. So there's a platform called Fan Page Karma, which has a great free level. So what that'll do is it'll measure the engagement rate of your page. Now it's only looking at the public information, but it allows you to analyze yourself against a competitor or against a similar type of business. Then you have the insights that are built into Facebook itself. And those insights allow you to look at the engagement based on the number of people who've actually seen it. And that's called reach. So reach means how many individual people saw my content. So again, I've just given you some idea there. And there's another free tool for Instagram engagement rate, and it's called tanke.fr. It's actually a French agency that have created just a free tool, again, to help you to analyze what your engagement rate metrics are. So it's important to know how things are working. And generally what I suggest is just on a monthly basis, pop in the first of every month, have a quick scoot down using the tools that are available to you to try and see, right, what worked, what didn't work, what do we need to do next month? The definition of madness is continuing to do the same thing and expecting a different result. But because we're all doing everything, we're chief bottle washer, we're marketer, we're business development officer, we're sales, we're pretty much everything in our business a lot of the time. We struggle to find the time to do this type of analysis. But if you want social media to work, this will be where you really should be spending a bit of time. As I say, first of the month, every month, couple of hours, just analyzing and seeing, right, what worked last month, what learned from it. So third section then is your tactics. So how are you going to reach your goals? So some of the things that you should be looking at there: optimizing your pages. So looking at your Instagram account, do you have all the right information available? And I remember I was actually working with a group, it was in Cork, and the profile or the bio on the Instagram account was, I do lashes. So what she meant was she puts semi-permanent lashes on, so eyelashes. And when I read it, I was like, oh, you do lashes? And I thought they were going to be the ones you stick on and take off that night, but they're semi-permanent, so they stay on for a few weeks. So she had to change it because nobody fully knew what she did. So looking at your pages and thinking, if somebody searches in this platform for my type of business, will I come up? So Emma mentioned putting keywords on your website, and that's really important because Google has to understand what your content is about. Same applies on your search or your social media. Help yourself to be discovered and found. Use keywords where possible in your descriptions and bios. How often are you going to post? Who knows? Every business is going to be different. There's no one rule fits all. It's all based on the individual business and their customer base and what their customers expect from them. There's businesses that can get away with 3 posts a day, and then the businesses would be happy with 3 posts a week. So it's going to very depend. General rule of thumb as a starting point would be 3 to 5 posts a week on your core channels. So that'd be your Facebook and Instagram. If you're on Twitter, 4 tweets a day is a good starting point. Behind the scenes. So you could share behind the scenes stuff. Remember humanizing the business. So behind the scenes really helps with that. Competitions. So competitions are a great way of helping to develop awareness. Obviously analyzing monthly, which I mentioned, and team brainstorming. If you have people that you work with, even if it's suppliers or even if it's part-time colleagues, even talking to your customers is really important, and listening to your customers. Look at the words customers are using to describe your business. And one of the best places you can go to get ideas about how your customers feel about your business and what they see as being, you know, the real value points of working with you or buying from you is check your reviews. Check your reviews and see what they're about you. Really, really important. You have 3 hurdles, and this is before you have even sold them one product or service. The first hurdle is getting your content into the newsfeed. So getting your content in front of your customers. The second is getting them to stop and pay any attention to it. And the third then is getting them to take that engagement. So reacting, liking, commenting, sharing, whatever it might be. And that's before you've sold anything. And that's quite difficult to achieve. So even though I've said 3 to 5 posts a week, I would actually prefer it if you did 2 absolutely knock out of the park posts every week that were really, really impactful, had high engagement rates, than trying to push out mediocre content just because I have to be seen to be putting something up. Now, I have integrated this video. I'll let you have a look at it yourselves. This is Facebook's video explaining how their algorithm works. And I have a couple of charts here that will just help you to understand, but I'll break it down for you when I'm talking about content in just a second. All of these channels have algorithms at work. So when you publish something to your Facebook page, for instance, only a very small percentage of your network will see that content. Studies generally say anything between 1 and 6%. So for every 100 people connected with your page, between 1 and 6 of those will potentially see your content in their newsfeed. And what we've got is we're fighting against loads of other people's content. So that's why 2 really good posts is going to be way better than 5 mediocre posts. Because we've got so much content that's going out there. We're fighting against it for visibility. We're fighting against it. We're trying to get people's eyes on our content. We're trying to get them to action our content. And it's really, really difficult. And it's not going to get any easier, folks. I promise you that. The human brain processes images 60,000 times faster than text. So when you're trying to get messages across, use visual content as much as possible. Video is definitely something you need to be looking at. Facebook is actually pushing video a lot. I don't know if you're using Facebook's new Creator Studio. let's say it's not new, it's actually around for years, but they're really pushing people to use it. And in the Creator Studio, you can schedule posts for Instagram and Facebook, because Instagram is now owned by Facebook. And in there, any of the reporting tools that are in there are very much focused on the video content that you're sharing. So it just shows that Facebook is very much pushing us towards video, because we know that video works. People want to consume information in video form. When you're creating content, one tip I would give you is assign an emotion to that piece of content. So when you create it, what is the emotional reaction you want people to have when they see that content? So do you want them to go, oh my God, I love it, or oh, I did not know that, really, or laugh out loud? And just an example, actually, earlier on, in between my last meeting and this session, I was looking on Instagram and I seen a post come up, and it was about Ireland's reality TV shows and why they should be bringing back reality TV shows from Ireland. And, you know, these are 5 from the early 2000s that, you know, we think were absolutely amazing. And it was really nostalgic for me. I was like, oh my God, I remember watching that. You see, I was having an emotional reaction to it. If you can create content that people have an emotional reaction, you will naturally get higher engagement. Higher engagement will get you higher reach. And remember, reach is getting your content into the news feed of the people connected with you. You will never get 100% reach. It's just impossible. You'll never get 100% engagement. But let's do our best to get it in front of as many people as possible. So always try and assign an emotion to content you're sharing across your social media. Because if they're emotionally reacting, they will certainly have, well, they'll have a better time and they will remember you more. So I'm going to show you another video. So I'm just going to change the sound source. Just bear with me there. Okay, so share. So this is another video. I like this. Again, it's an example that I show people. I like it because I think it appeals to the sentiment. I like that because it appeals to the senses. Something that it's visual, you have the sight, you have the emotion going. Anyone who's into their skiing would love that sound. They would love that sound. So it's appealing to a lot of the senses. So again, it's going to have that greater appeal. It's going to naturally get higher reach because of the higher engagement. And as I mentioned, make sure you're humanizing the business. So this is Bridget. She works with other businesses. So she's just going, hey guys, this is me. So it's just a little introduction. And as I mentioned, nostalgia works amazingly. Everybody loves a good history picture, something that makes them really think about their childhood. And there's actually a cafe in Clonmel. I'm from Cashel, Tipperary, just outside. And there's a cafe in Clonmel, Caroline's it's called. And they do cupcakes, they make cupcakes. But the cupcakes nearly always have some level of nostalgia in them. They'll do your Tangle Twister ones. They'll do your brunch ones. You know, the Freddo chocolate ones. There's always some level of nostalgia in there. And I was talking to her one day and they said that they pretty much, probably about 95% of their sales comes on the back of their social media activity. And it's all that nostalgia. And then obviously demonstrate your expertise. Being an expert and demonstrating an expert are 2 very different things. Telling them, I know my stuff, and actually demonstrating that you know your stuff, 2 very different things. So make sure you're creating content that demonstrates that expertise. So whatever that might look like, it could be videos, it could be product reviews, whatever it might look like, you have to start demonstrating. And then ideally creating some level of a content calendar. Now you don't have to go into the level of detail where you start at this stage, where you go, right, and you know, you put down all the detail and say, right, I'm going to run a competition. It's going to be giving away A, B, C, D. At this stage, it's a tick box. So it's going to go, okay, on the 1st of March, we're going to do a competition. On the 3rd of March, we're going to do an interview. So then you can create your action list, knowing what's coming down the line. Mapping out what tasks need to be completed. So that's your action plan stage. So if you're doing a competition, obviously looking at a little bit more detail how that might work at this stage. Who's going to be responsible for what? So creating just, and it can be just a bullet pointed email going, Sandra, right, can you do A, B, and C? And then Sean can do D, E, and F. And then back to Sandra, can you then, once Sean has done that, can you do GH and I? So just figuring out who's going to do what and give them a timeline to stick to. It always means that, you know, stuff gets done on time. Then from a measurement perspective, there's a load of free tools available out there. So Fan Page Karma was the one I mentioned earlier on. That'll give you your engagement rate metrics, so you can look at yourself against a competitor. Flanks is a good one as well for Instagram engagement rate metrics. So again, you can run a free report on that, as well as the I don't know how to pronounce this, tank, I'm not quite sure because it's French and my language is not good. Follower Wonk is a fab one for your Twitter. So what this will do is it'll actually map your Twitter users, your last 5,000 Twitter users. It'll tell you what your social authority score is. So social authority is how influential you are. So you should be aiming for the 40s and 50s. Google Analytics then, free tool provided by Google, which allows you to track, because the whole idea of social media for a lot of you is to get them into the website, and then when they're there, to get them to take action. So you need something like Google Analytics to help you track that. But what you need Google Analytics for when it comes to social media is knowing, okay, how many people came in from Facebook? How many of those bought my products or sent in a query? How many people came in from Instagram? And what that will help you with is figuring out where to push your resources. So I used to manage social media up until recently. And the hotel that I worked with, Facebook was by far their best converting channel. So we put about 75% of our effort into our Facebook, and then the rest just divvied out across the other channels, because we knew Facebook was our best channel. So it makes sense to put our resources into that. And then this is the type of thing ideally you would have. So this is based on the chart I showed you earlier. But what you do then is you add your month 1, your month 2, your month 3, and then you'll be able to see how you're performing month on month. And this is a KPI document if you want something a little bit more. What I might do is I have some KPI documents. I might pop them on an email, and they can be circulated out to you. Outside of that then, we have some image and video toolkits. You may already be using some of these. So first thing is, just from a scheduling perspective, to try and beat the algorithms, you're better off using Facebook's own scheduler, which is their Creator Studio for Facebook. Instagram's not as big an issue. And the reason for that is because the algorithm, Facebook as a platform, doesn't like it when you use third-party tools. So try and use their tools as much as possible. Later is a great platform for Instagram scheduling, but you can do it in the Creator Studio. Buffer again is another, and Hootsuite, they'll be again, and 2 other kind of good ones. From an image perspective, I don't know if you're a Canva user, Canva with a C, amazing platform. And if you want free stock images, Pixabay and Unsplash are 2 really good sources. Try and avoid using stock images as much as possible. Try and use real, raw images. And the good news is with Facebook, Instagram, you know, we don't expect it Steven Spielberg type content. We're not looking for award-winning photography. The real, the raw can work phenomenally well. Other tools that might come in handy, WordSwag is one of my favorite apps if you just want to put a little bit of style text on an image. InShot, loads of editing features for video and images. Unfold is great for story creation. And then from a video perspective, a lot of people don't realize that you can actually use Canva for creating video content as well. Wave.video is another one of my favorite tools. It's a template system. So they've designed thousands of templates. You can then input your own video or image content. Subtitles is very important, especially on your social media videos. So if you don't want to put the effort into doing it yourself, and you just want to get a low cost option of adding subtitles to your video content before you publish them, rev.com is a great website. And if you want an online video editor, WeVideo is a great website. So that's it. So the first thing is to review your performance, then develop your content plan, taking into account what you're trying to achieve. Obviously be creative and create emotive content. And remember, definition of madness, doing the same thing and expecting a different result. So change it up as needed. That's me done.
Thank you, Sandra, for highlighting and producing a very, very informative presentation. There was a lot of information in there of and I'm sure everybody got some great insights. In terms of brand consistency, I have to say your own presentation kind of really sort of showcases consistency and brand and color and everything. So you walk the walk as well as talk the talk. We'd now like to have a short Q&A session to answer any questions you have. And let's start with one of the questions then. Hold on. Should you post the same posts on each social media tool, e.g. Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram, or should you aim for different ones? We'll hand that over to Sandra, I think.
Okay, thank you. I suppose I live in a real world where we like to streamline where possible, but the reality is that sometimes the content just won't work. And one of the examples is that what a lot of businesses do is they create a post on Instagram and then they push that across to Facebook at the same time. And a couple of things that you just need to be aware of is, first of all, is that visual going to work with your Facebook network? Because it won't always work, because your Facebook network might need something different from you. Second thing is that if you tag another account on Instagram, that tag won't work when it goes across to Facebook. And your hashtags. Hashtags on Instagram, you can use up to 30 hashtags on a post. But studies show that on Facebook, 1 or 2 hashtags is actually better on Facebook. So what a lot of businesses are doing is they're turning Facebook into Instagram, which just won't work. They're just creating the same content and pushing it across. So while there are benefits because it does streamline, I suppose general rule of thumb is try and treat them differently if you can. If you have the time to do it, try and do it.
Thank you, Sandra.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just picked up a question there from Anne, and it's for Emma, actually. Emma, if you'd like to unmute there. And Anne was asking, you mentioned earlier on there, Emma, that, you know, when setting up your website, that it may need to fit, say, mobile or laptop or, you know, your desktop. And she was saying that, you know, when deciding on the device, is there, say, a platform where one size fits all? So is there a website design that you can use or a build that'll, that it fits all of the different devices? And does it cost extra to have a fit for several options?
Yeah, I suppose the point that I was trying to get across there about the designing for multiple devices is that I suppose it's not a point of, you know, pick and choose which devices, or that you'd save money by not doing, say, a desktop or something. The point was more that try to do not necessarily every single device, but try to do the first design for mobile, second design for desktop, and third design for tablet, and whatever other devices you think that your website might be seen on. But they're the main 3. I suppose any kind of consultant or you know, anybody that you're working with who's designing that for you should be able to automatically at least include mobile and desktop, if not tablet as well, in their designs. So in terms of an app to actually do that, I'm not aware of any that would be free anyway. I had the names of a couple of them. I can get those to you, but I don't know them off the top of my head now. There are designs where you can do wireframes yourself, if that's what you're looking for. So I can get those to you afterwards if you want.
And while I have you there, Emma, another question came in from Colin. Have you a good example of modern sitemaps?
Not with me right now. I don't right now. I suppose in terms of is it a visual, Michelle, or more just kind of what to talk through what they look like?
Just a talk through at this point, I'd say.
Okay. Well, to talk through, I suppose, what they look like. I suppose what I would have meant by sitemaps, again, keeping in mind that with my whole presentation, I don't want it to become too technical. So keeping it high level, like what I would have meant at stage 2, I think I mentioned that in, which was to decide the structure of your website.
Mm-hmm.
What I meant was basically to have a hierarchy of
Yes.
the different pages that are on your website, and to try to follow that hierarchy and to basically understand it in your own mind. So for example, that could look like, if you have, I'm just going to do it with my hands because it's the most visual way I can go here. If you have your homepage at the top and you're literally just drawing a line down, you can get a pen and a piece of paper to do it quite simply. That can be the easiest form. And then you have all your different pages down underneath your homepage. So your About Us, your services or your products, your Contact Us, whatever it is. And what a sitemap is meant to do is show you the hierarchy of your pages, and it's supposed to inform basically a search engine, so Google or whatever, about the different links that are on those pages and how they all link in together. And what the most basic example of what you need to do is list, say, for example, under About Us, there could be another link on that page that you plan on having on your website that has Meet Our Team. So you would then you'd have home, and then
Yes.
About Us, Meet Our Team, Contact Us, whatever it is underneath, whatever links
Yes.
are actually on that page. So it's more just to get an understanding of it yourself, to know how it's actually going to be structured, or how it should be structured, and where everything links in.
Perfect. Thank you for that, Emma.
Good.
No problem.
And a final question. It's quite funny. Sometimes it could be hard to think of a new post for social media. This is for you, Sandra. What are Sandra's tips for inspiration if she has a creative mental block?
Oh yes, the wonderful creative mental block. I have hit a wall on many occasions when I've been doing it for other people. And it's, where I get most of my ideas from is actually looking at what other people are doing. Sometimes I'm in my newsfeed and I see something and I go, oh my God, that'd be amazing for such and such a business, or geez, that's a really good idea, but I'll tweak it. Like for instance, when I was managing the social media for the hotel, I was actually lying in bed one morning with the phone, as you do, and I was scooting down through my Facebook feed and I saw a quiz and I thought, oh, that's cool. Then I thought, oh my God, I could do a quiz, because this was during the very first lockdown. And I was like, oh, what content are we going to create? We can't sell anything. It's just about engagement. So I found a great quiz platform, which is free. I'll always try and find the free stuff. I'm just going to find it here. Just trying to find. It's qz.app.do. So it's qz.app.do. Fantastic free level on it. So I did a great, how well do you know Cork? And I did kind of all the kind of quirky questions that people mightn't necessarily know the answer to. So really a lot of my inspiration comes from following a lot of different accounts and just looking and seeing what they're doing and tweaking it a little bit.
Okay.
Very good.
So thank you very much. This brings us to the end of our webinar, and I'd like to thank you all for joining us. And I would particularly like to thank Emma and Sandra. You did a fantastic job. And if you want to find out more, do contact us. We can assist you with your startup or existing social business.
And again, I would like to take this opportunity also to thank our project working group, our Sunsay Interact partners, and the Southeast Big team for all their support. So just to wish you all a very happy day, and thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Take care. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.